The concept for this video started with what I thought was a simple throwaway comment. I drove into the CarAdvice garage and said to the editorial team, in this exact car in fact, the Audi RS6 Avant is the best RS badged Audi you can buy. That's where the argument started. Quattro GmbH was established in 1983 as a wholly owned subsidiary of Audi, and while it was initially set up to market parts and accessories, it very quickly turned its attention to vehicles. The first RS badged Audi was the RS4 Avant, a concept that was avant-garde at the time, with proper performance from a practical wagon. Today we've assembled a selection of the recently refreshed RS range, and we're going to ask for some of your thoughts and comments at the end of the video as well. So while you're watching this, have a think about which is your favourite RS badged Audi. First up, we've got the RS Q3, screaming 5-cylinder engine, of course a Quattro drivetrain, baby Lambo styling. That is a very cool small SUV. We've got, of course, the RS6 Avant. As I said, that's the best RS badged Audi you can buy. We've got the RS7 Sportback. It never used to be one of my favourites, but now that's all changed. It's finally got the aggressive styling to match the potent performance that's on offer. We've also got behind me the TT RS. Looks fantastic in that colour, and again with a Quattro drivetrain and a screaming 5-cylinder turbocharged engine. Try arguing that that's not a proper performance sports coupe. And finally, we've got the big boy of the range, the Audi R8. And that's an interesting proposition in itself, because here today we've got the R8 in rear-wheel drive guise. But I know this comment is easy to make when you're spending $100,000 of someone else's money, but I reckon if you're buying the absolute pinnacle of Audi engineering, it has to be Quattro. They invented that theory and it really has to be them. The Quattro drivetrain is amazing. So for me, if you want the best R8 you can buy, you have to spend 100 grand extra and get the Quattro, but that's a whole other argument. In the meantime, let's not forget the rest of the Audi RS range. The Audi RS range is now more comprehensive than ever before and covers RS3 Sedan and Sportback, RS4 Avant, RS5 Coupe and Sportback, RS6 Avant, RS7 Sportback, RSQ3 and RSQ3 Sportback, TTRS, RSQ8, and of course the R8 in both rear-wheel drive and Quattro, both with a convertible option. Now the Audi TT, especially in RS spec, doesn't really get the love that it deserves. This is a particularly good car and it's fast. Quattro all-wheel drive, of course, a screaming 5-cylinder engine that makes plenty of power and plenty of torque, and it does it all so easily. You know, you tip into a sharp corner like that, it's really well balanced, and it's a beautiful little car to drive. And I would say that you underestimate the sporting ability of a TTRS at your peril, because it's particularly good. The other thing that we love about the TTRS is the way they've tidied up the cabin. Having virtual cockpit, which Audi's had for some time now, allows you to really clean up the center console. You don't need a second screen. Everything's driver focused. You feel like you're in a real performance car. RSQ3 might be the entry into the RS range, but it's hardly a bargain basement, price cut down, features taken out kind of car. In fact, it's got everything you need, and with this new platform, it's better than it's ever been before. We always felt that the old RSQ3 was a little bit like an afterthought, and it's not a criticism as much as it's just an explanation of where we thought Audi was when they built the vehicle. They had a Q3 platform, and then somewhere along the line they decided, why don't we do an RS version of it? Whereas this model, the all-new model, has been built from the outset to be made as an RS model, and it's all the better for it. It's brilliant to drive. The engine, again, 5-cylinder like in the TTRS, plenty of power, plenty of torque, but the way it rides, the way it handles, and just the general usefulness of it being a compact SUV, it's bigger now as well, makes it a fantastic all-rounder. If you find a twisty road, obviously you probably don't want the whole family in the car because they might get car sick, but if you find a twisty road and you really hook in, this is a brilliant performance SUV. As I said in the driving impressions, this is now the entry into the RS range, and if you take a look around at the cockpit, take a look at virtual cockpit specifically, the way the infotainment's laid out, the Alcantara trim, the stitching, the seat design, all the little elements that come together inside the cabin, this doesn't feel like an entry-level vehicle by any means at all. Now, if you don't have the money to stretch to one of the more expensive RS variants, and let's face it, plenty of people don't, that's why there's not many of them on the road, you can buy the RS Q3, and because the platform is designed from the outset to work as an RS model, you're going to get one hell of a performance SUV. The appeal of the RS6, well, that's pretty simple for me. I mean, look at how you're driving in complete luxury in this car, in something that with the brake package this one's got that's capable of 305 kilometers an hour. So it's almost supercar performance in a station wagon that you could legitimately argue is a practical family vehicle. But the styling and the way it looks, aside from the 22-inch wheels, which is standard, means that it really does fly under the radar. And it's hard to argue that this isn't the best all-round Audi with an RS badge, because it's sensible, but it's also completely crazy. It's easy to overlook the performance potential of the RS6 Avant because the word that gets used more than any other is practicality. There's good reason for that. Check this out. This is the second row of a car that can do 300 kilometers an hour. Look how comfortable it is. There's heaps of room. You've got proper room for adults back here. Maybe not 3, but certainly 2. And then, as we keep saying, fold that second row down. You can fit a mountain bike, a surfboard, all your football gear in there. This is a practical family vehicle that happens to be incredibly fast and powerful. So the appeal of the RS7 Sportback, it might not be as obvious as you think, although one of the reasons that it's so appealing is obvious. The fact that you get coupe styling because of the fastback, but you get sedan practicality. Fold the seats down, heaps of room, big boot, really easy to access. I think also the fact that the styling is now as aggressive as it is a big strong point, because this car always flew under the radar a little bit too much for me. It makes epic power, epic torque, it's super fast, but it also looks the part now as well. And I think lastly, it's incredibly premium in the cabin. The way this is all laid out, the infotainment screen, and it's just a premium cabin to be inside. You can imagine saddling up in this car and just doing a big long distance drive in it and getting to the other end as if you never left. It's a fantastic cruising car, but it's also incredibly quick. You'll hear us say often that premium and what is premium is a really difficult thing to define, but I reckon if you take a seat inside the RS7 Sportback, you'll think to yourself, this is a pretty premium place to be. It starts with the gauges, the infotainment, the way that's all laid out, which, as we keep saying, Audi is doing particularly well across the board. But I think little features like the lighting, the ambient LED lighting in this car, the way you can change the color of it, it lights up around the consoles and the door edges, even the seatbelt clasps light up, which I think is really cool. In the dark, if you look down, you see them lit up, you know exactly where the seatbelt is. It's a little touch, but it's a premium one. I also think, while not all of you will agree with me, the terracotta colored leather adds to that sense of premium as well. It stands out a little bit different from that sea of black, and I think it really puts the full stop on what is a classy cabin in a really aggressive looking car that's quick, but it'll also fly under the radar. The R8 really doesn't need any introduction. It's gotten to the point now where it's effectively a legend in the Audi stable. And there are a number of reasons that we love it as much as we do. One, obviously the cabin, very driver-centric. Like we said with the TT-RS, there's the fact that it's so centered on the driver. You don't have anything in through the middle there. It's not messy, it's not cluttered. You don't have a central screen. It's all here for the driver. And the fact that you get to concentrate on what you're doing and enjoy it is the main thing. Secondly, the engine, that naturally aspirated V10 engine, it is a masterpiece. It's as good as it gets. It sounds amazing. And it's just got that beautiful linear power delivery that only a V10 engine can give you, or only a naturally aspirated engine can give you. When I say it sounds amazing, just have a listen to this. Doesn't get any better than that, does it? And no, it doesn't get any better than that manic V10 engine. While the step up to Quattro from rear-wheel drive in the R8 costs big money, you do get more power, more torque, a faster run to 100 kilometers an hour, and more wheels doing the driving. What's not to love? It doesn't matter how you justify it or which way you set the price argument, the purchase of any RS badged Audi is a really special car, really, and it brings with it a sense of occasion and a sense of respect for decades of tradition. And despite the undeniable supercar appeal of the V10, in the R8 specifically, not to mention the strong points of all the others, we still think that the RS6 Avant is the smartest RS badged Audi you can buy. I mean, first of all, have a look at it. Secondly, opt for those brakes. Yes, it's an optional package that's going to cost you an extra $19,500, so it's not cheap, but you get a top speed of 305 kilometers an hour. 305 kilometers an hour in a wagon that you can put a mountain bike in the back of. How can you argue with that? Now it's over to you guys. You have to let us know which is your favorite RS badged Audi. Now you can't be cheeky and say, I'll take an RS Q3 and a TTRS instead of one R8. It doesn't work that way. You've got to let us know one, only one. Let us know in the comments section below. In the meantime, I'm just going to take that R8 out for another run just to make sure we made the right decision.